Ensign.
Decline.
So, Vicey.
Yeah.
How's things going at the homestead?
Yeah, pretty good, getting battened down for winter. Not getting as much work done in my barn as I'd like, but,
So you're working on the barn?
working on the 100-year-old barn.
What about the big pile of manure?
I'm not doing anything with that at the moment, I use it as a backdrop when I practice my archery.
What do you mean?
Well, so the arrows don't fly all over the place if I miss the target. But I don't miss the target very often, so it's really kind of an unnecessary pile of shit, but, yeah.
Plus, we don't really.
I'm accurate up to about 40 yards now with my bow. I think that's pretty good.
It's like you gotta go dig your arrow out of a pile of shit.
I just pull it out, It's just, it's old sheep shit, so it's not, it doesn't, yeah, it doesn't really stink or anything, It's, it's like mother's milk,
Sheep shit doesn't stink?
Not much, no.
Usually, no one will get a
No, it's very potent as a fertilizer, but doesn't smell, so it's a very strange combination of things.
So, you told us a story last time about some guy fucking a sheep.
No, that was a pig.
A pig? Oh, right. Have you heard stories about people fucking sheep?
Oh, bummer, get him!
Yeah, I had a friend who worked as a logger in northern Minnesota, and they had, for whatever reason, they had high chainsaw boots that sometimes they wore. I don't know if they were doing a particular kind of job, but apparently it worked to put the back legs into the tops of those boots, the back legs of a sheep into the tops of those boots. And, then they couldn't get away while you were doing your business.
Oh my God!
Anyway, this is what they told me, but I found it fairly disgusting, really.
So that's the problem with fucking a sheep. They try to get away.
Is it?
That's what you're saying. You seem to be saying to me.
I don't know. I mean, you probably have as much experience as I do.
Yeah, zero. I hope. But so. I guess the natural inclination of any animal is just to say, no, I don't want to be fucked.
I don't know about that.
No, I don't know about that. I mean, just reading about Captain Cook going to Tahiti. And, of course, Bougainville, or however you say his name, was there a year prior to Cook. And the Tahitians didn't seem to have any problem getting laid by lots of different... smelly sailors. And I don't know if that extends to the animal kingdom or not. Speaking of the animal kingdom.
Boring everyone to death.
Oh, thanks.
Well,
were you listening?
About, like, fucking the animals.
Exactly.
We've all heard that
word
before. We've all heard that
word
before.
is we plant weed while you guys have been doing nothing. We have figured out how to do the Hall of Fame.
We've codified the rules for the Hall of Fame.
It's a wall of fame.
Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
It's 24-3.
Will you shut up?
Ernest Hemingway.
Ernest Hemingway.
He's
Yeah.
got a good beer.
Mariel Hemingway.
Yeah, he shot himself. I say no.
Yeah. No to all the Hemingways, or what?
I'd say no because we can only raise one at a time, can't we?
Yeah.
We can't raise a whole family.
Ernest has been done, Don't you think he's a little...
I like Ernie on my wall, though.
You know who I'd like to put on the wall? Ernest Hemingway's goat.
If you know his name, I would agree.
Well, I think you just call him goat.
Pepe.
It's like, here's another apple. Goat.
Is this in Havana, or where did he have?
Idaho.
Get some background information. I'll probably vote.
You want me to bring in deep background on a goat?
Tell me, don't waste your time. No goat murder.
Yeah.
Off the top of your head.
Susan Smith.
Susan Sarandon?
Susan Smith.
He's going for the.
She's just crazy. There doesn't seem to be anything interesting about her, Maybe.
Very interesting.
I don't think so.
You want to go for a ride in the lake? Hey, Mommy. See, she inspires change. Yeah. That's right.
Oh, I got one. Daniel Ellsberg.
I mean, how many of us have not wanted to put their kids in a fucking
The Pentagon Papers?
What?
The Pentagon Papers. He released the Pentagon Papers to the Village Voice. I think ended up publishing them.
Joe was just saying how he'd love to put,
Well, we already have McNamara though, so
how he'd like to put Coleman's kids in a seat and just drive them in the fucking thing.
Happens for the next 3 years
Oh,
to do
yeah.
that.
What do the people think is going to happen to education in this state? I mean, with a deficit of probably up to $3 billion in the state over the next couple of years, where do they think that money's going to come from?
More lottery.
Out
I
of
guess.
Jesus Christ's ass.
Yeah. You know damn well where it's going to come from. Every university in this state, every university in this country, every school in this country is going to take a hit.
You're only saying that because you work in a university.
Yeah. Oh, I know. And I don't have overhead projectors at work. I don't have the proper samples I need to teach my classes. I barely get paid enough to make a living. And I would really put that about 5th or 6th on my list. If I had to truly make a list about what needs to be spent at the school, my salary would be down there. I mean, I want to make a decent living. But there's way more pressing needs of hundreds of dollars and a few $1,000s here and there that need to be fulfilled sooner than a pay raise for me. It pisses me off when I go into a classroom and the damn overhead projector doesn't work because we can't afford a damn light bulb for it. It's like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, it always amazes me. I mean, I've seen this in a lot of schools. Just, you know, it comes down to, oh, we're making too many copies or whatever. I'm like, what the fuck? Are you talking about the paper or what costs so much money here? I mean, I know the big machines cost a lot. But
Well, you need to cut copying costs so you can, you know, fulfill the nepotistic desires of an administration. You know, their wives don't have a job, so let's get them a job and
cut the copy budget.
cut the copy budget. Let's spread the money around. We heard this every year. The budget. I don't buy it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like this money somehow. And so, I mean, we don't shut down the university or whatever. I mean, you know, you'd think we would have by now. But still, like Tom says, a lot of people just, I don't know if they just do without or what.
Well, that's about where I'm at.
Playbook, because there was a lot of people who hated Clinton, but they always talked about when they met him in person that he had a certain charisma. But it's really hard for me to imagine Bush having.
But he was a diehard moderate.
Yeah.
I mean, what?
Is that what we come to though? We just want somebody who tells everybody what they want to hear and then goes out and fucks people over.
Well, I mean, you could. Clinton was very successful, and he wasn't. I mean, he was what we would call a Republican moderate,
Yeah.
and that's not necessarily bad for the country.
Right.
You know, he balanced the sort of left with the right, which
Right.
was good.
And Bush ran as a Republican moderate, but now he's a Republican.
Well,
radical.
actually, he's he's not as right wing. He's come out recently and said, you know, they criticize him as being in ear of the right wing, and he came out and said, I will go my own way. But I don't think it has anything to do with God. I mean, if we equate the right wing with these sort of traditional values, when it suits him, he will spout that.
Yeah.
But he is pro-money.
Yeah.
I mean, what his constituency is. Where you can give Clinton benefit of the doubt, and you could say, you know, whatever you want to say about the guy, you know, what politician isn't a sleazebag?
Right.
I mean, but he was taking money from both sides, whereas if we would make the analogy, Bush is taking money from one side.
Right.
And it's self-serving. Where Clinton was.
But don't you think it's
Pro-business, but he was pro-business from a more eclectic point of view. Where Bush, there's no way Bush is.
Right.
It's his father's constituency. Look at look at Kenneth Lay had an office at the White House. Look at, Ashcroft. Look at Cheney. I mean, come on.
Yeah. For me, that's where I'm not saying Bush is a radical Republican when it comes to being a religious nut. I mean, if he is, he's kind of kept that shit in check a little bit.
He used it to get elected.
Yeah, he.
Bob
that's how
Jones
stupid.
University
That's
and
how
that whole bullshit, and that was a critical point of the campaign.
That's how stupid the religious right is.
And he did
if they truly knew,
won't
if they
forgive him
truly
for
had a brain in their fucking heads, they would just come down hard on Bush. But Bush just said what they wanted to hear. That's how stupid
and he sucked them into
the religious right is.
And he knows
Because
damn
he's
well
not
that
a
soccer moms around the country don't want to hear that shit. Soccer moms around the country are going to vote for pro-choice, freedom. They do not want to be forced where to take their kids for religion shit.
Yeah, I don't know.
They might call themselves religious. They don't make it a big issue. Man.
Well, what you got to do to run in this area is to run pro-choice, and you could be a hypocrite about it, and you could have the most liberal policies, just run pro-choice. And I'm thinking, why not run a Democrat here pro-choice and just have them lie?
Yeah.
Because I mean, you just tell the constituency what they want to hear. Run pro-choice, just like the Republicans do, because they'll run pro-choice. And you think that you're getting sort of family values, and you're not, because they're undercutting the working class, and they're totally pulling away from health care, education.
Yeah, anybody who goes to the polls right now, well, it's hard to call. I mean, on one side, I think you can make the case that anybody who goes to the polls and says, I'm voting for this person because they're against abortion, I think that person's living in a fucking dream world. It's like, I'm voting for this person because they're against dwarves or whatever.
Well, no, wait a minute. That's not true, because I think the majority of people here in this area in Marshall they will vote more for a pro-life person. They vote on these key sort of scare issues. You know, you could have a Democrat or, I mean, whatever, independent.
But I'm just saying, isn't the voter kind of a dumbass if they think that shit's actually going to change who they vote
That's
for?
why Republicans won.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what Libby was saying about Bush really just stroked off the religious right.
But
used them to get voted.
They're pissed at him.
Yeah.
Because he didn't come down hard. He didn't come out.
Well,
he barely won, and those guys turn out in droves to vote. They have a very high, voter turnout rate.
But isn't there the theory that
most of the country wants pro-choice? They are not into forcing somebody. I mean, let's face it.
But isn't there the theory
the law
that
of the land right now, and it's going to be hard to overturn that? Hopefully,
you could kind of you could kind of make the case though also that you're maybe playing the long ball and you're trying to set up those Supreme Court justices, and then suddenly somebody's going to challenge Roe v. Wade again. And
that was I read a Time article on Bush, and the reason that the right is mad at Bush right now is because he hasn't
appoint the right judge.
I mean, it's a presidential prerogative to challenge certain things, and he hasn't challenged the pro-choice constituency where he could bring it back to the Supreme Court, and he knows it's political suicide.
Yeah, and
he's in a position now where he can look at his constituency and say, fuck you, and then when the next voting cycle comes along, he can still spout the same rhetoric and go, oh no, I'm pro-life.
And their whole thing is always going to be,
they're stupid.
We have to vote
They're stupid as motherfuckers anyway. They're the stupidest motherfuckers.
But when you have an issue like that, when you have an issue like that, there's like this always, even if you don't think the guy's actually going to do anything about it, there's always this like, well, we know for fucking sure Al Gore or whoever isn't going to do anything about it. So, I mean, they're fucked.
It's a fantasy, though. It's a fantasy.
But
because, let's face it, the majority of suburban women, especially middle-class suburban women, want to retain the right to choose however they want to with their body. If they want to have a child, fine, they'll have a child. But if they don't, they want that choice.
Oh yeah, and with the myth in this
even
country,
people who will call themselves religious still want that choice.
The myth in this country is that the constituency of the right is pro-life. It's not true. The rich have always been pro-choice.
Oh yeah.
Because they have always had a choice. It's the poor that don't have a choice. You know, when you talk about forced sterilization in inner cities, and you talk about when the rich, even when it was anti-abortion state, they could have an abortion whenever they wanted. I mean,
So why do they need it to be in place? They can just do it.
Well, rich can always afford a doctor to come over to the house and perform
Right.
an abortion. But poor people are going to have to go to the back alleys.
but the sound bites come from the liberals.
Yeah.
And the liberals that are advocating for the poor. I mean, either way it goes, if we become a pro-life country, anti-abortion country, abortions aren't going to stop. They're just going to become back alley, and they're going to